a guy who's the colleague of Matt's dad, I think. That he says something about...
His boss.
Yeah, his boss. So when you're around 30, you choose a path, and maybe you spend the rest of your life doing something that you don't want to do, or you don't believe in. I was thinking, you're 30.
I know.
What do you see in your future creatively? You've had almost 10 years now. All this feels, to me, they feel close to novelists do, like now, like autofiction, or have done novels, I think.
But they're not autofictive. These movies are not about my life. They're personal, but they're not about me. I haven't lived this situation, and Lawrence anyways is about a trans woman who's announcing her girlfriend that she's a woman and she wants her to help her transition. And clearly I've never been anything near like that, and it's all my imagination trying to understand what it could be like. The only thing that I have in common with these characters, obviously I Kill My Mother is a bit closer to what I lived with my mom, and there are certain movies that I've made that can be a bit more. The kid in The Death and Death of John F. Donovan, who's screaming at his TV screen when he's watching shows like Roswell and Charmed, and he's watching his favorite star, and he's screaming, and so that's me. Obviously, that's very close to my life. That's not only personal, that's what we call autofiction. But the rest of the body of work, I don't know, that's a little pretentious, body of work. I mean, the rest of the other 7 films are personal without being autobiographical. And, you know, and it's not like to name drop annoyingly, but I was at a dinner with Pedro Almodovar in May, and I asked him, I said, "How's your new film? Is it personal?" And then I was like, oh God, I can't believe I asked him that question. I hate when people ask me that, because I'm always like, they're always personal. And then he was like, well, they're always personal, Xavier. I was like, I know. And is it more personal than the other one before? That's what I meant. And then we talked about that, and it's funny because it's just that I think there are filmmakers who have a lot of ease, you know, taking a script and just telling the story about a bank robbery, and feeling connection with characters for them is not necessarily crucial. And they can tell a story very well without involving themselves emotionally or intimately or privately. I, for one, cannot do that. I can tell a story that's not mine, but I'm going to put a bit of my mom in that character, and I'm going to put a bit of myself in that one. And I'm going to use the laughter of my mom's friend for that woman. And that other guy will be like this man who used to play poker with my dad. It's just, I'm unable of not, is it over?
No.
Okay. You need, you know, short answers is the key. But anyway, I'm saying I'm unable of not incorporating my life in these films. But it can be my life and the life of others. Not the movie, the life of others, but the life of other people surrounding me. It can, you know, you steal from people. That's what you do. You steal stuff. How they walk, how they laugh, so that's why I feel they will always be personal. I'm working on a new movie right now. Well, not a new movie, it's not a movie yet, but it's a script. I've just started writing it. It's going to be a horror piece. It's going to be a horror movie. And so, which is so different from everything that I've done before. Yet, I'm writing it and I'm like, oh no, that's so personal. I can't escape it, but I'm not trying to. And I'm not saying it's
that makes it, I think that's what makes your film so good, that it feels personal and individual.
But I'm hoping they feel personal to you as well.
Yes.
I'm hoping that you don't think that I only make movies about myself or my mother. Do you? Listen, if you do, it's okay, but it's time to tell me right now.
No, it's been... I was...
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah? There.
Hi. Thank you. Good evening. The port wine stain. I don't know if it's working. I don't know if it's truly adding something. But for me, the idea was, first, I've always loved scars and stains and especially port wine stains. And what I've always loved about them, I find them aesthetically pleasing. But I also love that clearly someone who has one generally doesn't feel comfortable with themselves. You can tell that these people have had a story of probably being mocked or ridiculed when they were younger, and then you can hear the mockery of people at the school ground and then at recess. They walk into a room, they don't need to say anything, you know that they have that story. And I thought that would be something interesting for Max, but mostly not because I wanted people to think he was a victim when he walked into a room, but because I wanted it to be clear for the public from the very first scene, not the first scene, but you know when they're the first dinner scene when they're on the patio and they lose and Matt loses the bet. They're all having dinner and they're all talking about what they're going to do, and Max leaving for Australia, and no one looks at that stain. No one talks about it. No one mentions it ever. And I thought that would be a measure of the love that his friends have for him, and how close they are. So that was one thing. So it wasn't only for him. It was also something to measure the friendship of his friends and other people in his life toward him. It's also, if you want, a way to accessorize his inner pain and the fact that he's from a different milieu maybe than the other boys. And obviously, not obviously, but when you have something like that, a little detail like that, you're wondering, how am I going to use this? Because it can't just sit there. There's got to be a purpose, a more elegant purpose to it than just artificially being there and being there because what it's aesthetic and so for me, the scene where he is trying to make it go away and where he actually thinks that it's gone, I thought would show the public that in a moment where he's been rejected by his best friend and the person that he currently loves, that it brings him back to his fundamental insecurity, which is he's ugly. So there was that, and there's another reason. It was just for the moment where his friend, in front of everyone, would call him the stain. I don't know how significant that is for you here through the subtitles, but a stain in Quebec is someone whose presence is not desired. When we call someone a stain, and we call that also a stain, because that's how you name it, it's a port wine stain. And when you call someone an individual a stain, it's a terrible thing to say to someone. It means that, you know, they're not admired, that they're undesired, undesirable.